Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you for being here. Today I want to introduce my grandson, Dragon Man. Dragon Man is 14, a year younger than Sebastian Rogers. Dragon Man does not have autism or chromosome deletion syndrome, but like Sebastian, Dragon Man lived a very isolated life with little to no friends because he was being homeschooled for about 5 years. We have now moved and Dragon Man has joined a mainstream school and is doing very well, adapting emotionally as well as academically. We are halfway through the academic year and he is in the top 10 academically in his class. It appears that adapting socially and emotionally was and is much harder than catching up academically, where he appears to be pretty much on par with the other children. In some ways and certain aspects, Dragon Man is far more advanced and mature than his classmates, and in other aspects he is far more immature and naive because he did not progress to a teenager going through certain phases along with his classmates. And on the other side of the coin, his mother and I did not keep much from him, whether it is financial issues or whether other major decisions we have made. We also never spoke down to him, so say for the past 4 years, he took part in our conversations on an almost equal footing. Of course, all within reason and if age appropriate in certain ways. So in a way, I have an understanding of Sebastian's struggles, particularly in the sense that both Dragon Man and I have low-grade OCD. We are very particular about certain things, like food, for instance, and neither of us walk barefoot, not inside or outside the house. I don't sleep in complete darkness, and neither does Dragon Man. Neither of us are actually afraid of the dark, not at all. We will go outside in the dark, although never, never barefoot, but we'll walk around in the dark unafraid and with ease. But both of us have a moment of panic when we wake up and can't immediately see or scan our surroundings. We have to wake up and be able to see around us. A psychiatrist calls it OCD, but I'm not so sure, although my family do tell me that I have far more OCD traits. Anyway, this is about Sebastian. So I thought that maybe in order to understand Sebastian, it may be a good idea to speak to someone who is more or less Sebastian's age and someone with a few quirks of his own. And who knows better how teenagers think than a teenager? So, okay, let's go. Dragon Man, do you agree that I told you the basics of Sebastian's story?
Yes.
Now, just a quick recap. Sebastian is a year older than you, but physically he's quite a bit smaller and much lighter than you. You are 5'11". Sebastian is 5'5". You weigh around 211 pounds. Sebastian weighs about 120 pounds. Sebastian, like you, appear to do well at school, but like you, struggle with social interaction, but obviously for different reasons. Sebastian, because of his autism, and you, because you did not grow and mature with your schoolmates, but with your mom and me, often 24/7 for long periods of time. You are thus catching up fast and in some ways are more mature than your peers. Sebastian, however, is still or was still emotionally immature, even though he is a year older than you. His bio dad said his maturity level was that of a 10 or 11-year-old. physically, although small. He's definitely entering or is well into puberty because his mother said that he had to start shaving. Okay, so Sebastian lived with his mother and stepfather, but was going to go live with his biological father. Sebastian and his mother was out all day on the 25th of February, shopping, bowling, and then had a meal at a restaurant. He's on camera leaving the restaurant with his mother. That is the last time anyone but his mother actually sees him in one piece or alive. According to his mother, he went to his room and she stayed on the couch where she watched television, studied, fell asleep at one point, and eventually found her husband and spoke to him for nearly 3 hours before she went to bed at 12 o'clock midnight. She said that she told Sebastian at 9 o'clock to go to sleep. At around 10 o'clock, there was a thud in his room. She yelled up to him. He said he was okay, and she told him to go to sleep. Then, when she went to wake him up at 6 o'clock the next morning, Sebastian was gone. According to Mom Katie, he did not take anything with him except maybe his torch. He did not even bother to put on his shoes. So I guess my first question to you would be, would you go outside barefoot at night, pitch dark, torch light only?
No. I'm someone, if I were to go alone, I would definitely have planned out much more and I would have planned it long in advance. I mean, I'd have had my jacket ready, I'd have everything ready because it's mainly the will to survive and the understanding of common sense that would make someone know that what they need to get away.
Okay, but if let's say you just wanted to go outside quickly to go check on something, would you go out? I mean, even if you planned on getting back in say 5 or 10 minutes, would you go out 10 o'clock at night, pitch dark, with just a tiny little torch and go out barefoot?
Definitely not. I'm a bit of a germaphobe, and if he's anything, as you said, and doesn't like the idea of stepping on an animal or something, like insects and so on, then he'd definitely get his shoes out first. And he wouldn't definitely not go without shoes.
Okay, now can you think of any circumstances under which you may perhaps go outside in the dark without shoes?
I would say there are only two or three. One being if I was very stressed, one if I was very angry, and the third would be if I'm in a rush, for an extreme rush for a very particular reason.
I was also thinking about what if he was scared for whatever reason. Maybe he was in a fight, or maybe he did something wrong and he was afraid of getting into trouble. Maybe he thought he'll go hide out until the worst is over. Do you think that's a possibility for someone your age? Or do you think at your age you can stand up to a parent and defend yourself?
It honestly depends. If his mindset is, as you have said, then it's possible that he would be more defiant. But then he would also still take his jacket, still take his shoes, even if they're in a rush. Maybe he'll take two different pairs of shoes, but you would definitely get his shoes and a jacket. Maybe if he had enough time and he knew he had enough time, he'd definitely get something to drink and eat as well on the road because I'm sure he knows he needs to eat.
Okay, now let's say you were Sebastian and you wanted to run away from home. I think you've already touched on it. You would have planned it better and so on. But could you perhaps elaborate more? Could you tell me how you would plan it, and especially, in order to not be caught or not be found, at least not soon? How would you have planned it? What would you have done?
Okay, do I have a time period for this? Like how long I have for planning it?
No, look, if he left the house because he was upset or whatever, but he knew he would be coming back and say an hour or two or day or two, whatever. That's a completely different matter. But if he had bigger problems and he really wanted to run away, not to come back again. That is running away. That is going and having your own life and doing your own thing. If that is what you, as a nearly 15-year-old, wanted to do, you wanted to go live your own life, etc., how would you have planned it?
Well, first off, I try and figure out every method of getting out of the house. For example, if there was a lock on the door, I would know where the keys are or what the password was, and I'd memorize it. Or if a window that is always a little creaky or a little bit easy to open or so on, I memorize that as well. Then I would probably get myself a list of what I would need. For example, let's say a torch. I definitely need my shoes, definitely need a jacket since it's winter. And I like the cold, but this is him. He may not like the cold, and he will definitely know that the cold could kill.
Time I think I read it was about in the 50s, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is about 14, 16 degrees Celsius. So yeah, it was cold, but it wasn't freezing, and definitely wasn't snowing in February anymore.
Well, I'm not very sure that I may have still taken a jacket if it's a bit cold outside. But in that case, I'd also have planned what food I would take with me. For example, let's say there's a water bottle in the freezer, I would definitely take that. There was some cooked rations or something from a night before or something, I would also take that. And then I would plan out where the least cameras and surveillance is to get out through that and leave.
Yeah, I think at the very least you would put on shoes, wouldn't you?
That is definitely a guarantee.
Okay. Now, behind the scenes, we have spoken a bit about other details of the story. I mean, you live in a household with two women, whereas poor Sebastian, or poor you, I don't know which it would be, obviously lived with his mother. His stepfather worked away. His biological father fetched him every second weekend, and so on. So it was mostly him and his mother.
Okay, my first opinion would be the mother's story did not push up to what she said. The time didn't work, and the story of the thud and all that, in my complete opinion, was trying really hard to be realistic, but it seemed kind of made up on the spot even. It's like trying to sound like you have a fine relationship, but in reality, there was something going on. The mother's story does not catch up. From the 3 hours that she was on the phone with the dad and went to sleep at 12, she also said she heard a thud at what was the time again?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, and that's when she talked with the dad, the stepdad. Then it would be at 1 in the morning. The timeline doesn't catch up, and even if this was a mistake, a soft thud would not wake the mother up if she was asleep as she said she was. A soft thud would barely be problematic. In fact, the most likely was if it was that hard of a thud, it would be something that could cause a concussion. That's literally because I've done a bit of medical and you know that much. So I would know that definitely that would be a concussion level thud if it was
Loud enough to wake
loud
her
enough.
up.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, before you continue, the fact that the father went to work even earlier than normal and the mother locked up the dogs is kind of a worrying hint.
Yeah, because they said, I mean, we've got dogs roaming our home all day, every day, and at night. But they said that when the stepfather was home, the dogs were put in their cages at night to go to sleep. But when he wasn't at home, like he supposedly wasn't that Sunday night, then she would allow the dogs to sleep with her. So why then did she put the dogs in their cages that night? If usually when he's not there, they roam the house or they sleep with her. So I agree with you, that is rather strange. And I mean, we had an intrusion in our yard 2 nights ago. So we know what it takes to get the dogs to bark. I mean, do you think that just a thud, maybe
No.
we don't know how loud, but do you think that would cause the dogs to bark?
Yes, or dogs have very sensitive hearing, so I know they would definitely act, especially if they cared about Sebastian. Now, if Sebastian had a good relationship with the dogs, then they will most likely hear it and most likely start barking or jumping off the bed to check if he's alright, because dogs can sense danger and sense bad intention and all that. So the possibility is that the mother knew that and decided to lock the dogs up for some
Yeah, but
reason.
then, what I'm wondering about, if Sebastian did get up and he left, no matter how he left, whether he left by the front door, which is what they are saying he likely did, but if he got up and he left, wouldn't the dogs have barked as he either walked through the house to get to the front door or opened the front door? Why didn't the dogs bark?
This is why I believe that it's possible that something was done. Maybe they were made to sleep with a pill or something, or the cages were put in a way where they couldn't see or couldn't hear. Perhaps
Or their barking was just ignored on purpose.
that is very possible. But then the mother would be woken up, wouldn't they? Wouldn't she?
I don't know. I mean, if she had a hand in whatever happened to him, then the dogs can bark. She will ignore it. Or if she knew if it was a planned thing and somebody came and fetched Sebastian, she would purposefully ignore the dogs.
That's true. But wouldn't the neighbors hear?
Oh, well, the houses are not that close together, but I think my main question at this point is, if Sebastian walked through the house and left by the front door, wouldn't the dogs have barked?
They would. That is guaranteed. But this is where the possibility that he used the window came in.
No, but even so, I mean, even if he left through a
A
window,
window on the opposite side of where they are.
our dogs are fairly sensitive to movement around the house.
That's true. But all you're doing is now guaranteeing that it's most likely the mother and the stepfather had something to do with this. And this brings up a lot of suspicions.
Yeah, because the thing is, if our dogs bark at night, one of us get up to go and have a look and
Yes.
see what they're barking at.
Yep. Now I've had a lot of theories about this entire situation, as I've said to you yesterday when we were talking about the idea and all. It's possible that the stepfather and the mother were working together. He went early so he would be considered clocked in, so he could get to the house, perhaps take his body, and possibly get it hidden under the building site. Now, I believe the cops definitely did wrong. They should have stopped every construction and everything that's related to the family as well. For in my belief system, I believe that when in court, you're innocent until proven guilty. But when it comes to detective, everyone is not innocent. Everyone is guilty until proven innocent.
Oh, I agree with you. You see, strange things happened. I tried to work out a timeline. As I listened to a behavior analyst, and he said, according to him, he said it is his opinion that whatever happened to Sebastian happened at 10 o'clock when Katie said she heard the thud. It's very similar to that other case we looked into, the Laurie and Chad Daybell case. Okay, remember he said he shot a raccoon, and he said he shot a raccoon basically at the time when Tylee was murdered. So obviously they're making excuses in advance for something the neighbors or somebody may have heard. Now this sounds to me very, very similar. And according to that behavior analyst, well, let's say he believes that too. So it is his opinion, and ultimately my opinion, that something, whatever happened to Sebastian, happened at 10 o'clock when his mother said she heard the thud. Okay. So what I did was then I went and drew up a timeline. If the stepfather was in Memphis, that's 3 hours ago. So If she called him, he said 9:43, which is nearly 9:45, which obviously, if that is what they said, obviously the police looked at their phones and they must have verified that. So 9:43, she called him. Now, if he got into his car 15 minutes later and he drove back home to Hendersonville and it took him 3 hours, that would have been 11, 12, 1 o'clock. He would have arrived at 1 o'clock. Let's say he picked up Sebastian and drove back within half an hour. That's 1:30. So that's 2:30, 3:30. He would have been back there 4:30. Now, no one would be on site between 4:30 and 5:15 in the morning because they only start working at 7. So it's quite possible, he would have had huge construction vehicles and things available to him, and he would have had more than an hour to do whatever he wanted to do, to hide whatever he wanted to hide, be that Sebastian's body or something else. We don't know. But obviously they did not. They must have confirmed that the stepfather was on site at about 5:15. And maybe that was initially the reason why the police didn't go check. Okay, so he wasn't in town, so he's innocent. That was their mindset. But if you go and you add it all up, it's quite possible for him to have gone home and back.
This is why I believe in the phrase guilty until proven innocent when it comes to detective work. They should not have written it down so quickly, because that is how cases go cold. Because all the evidence is fully hidden permanently, and there's no finding it. It would cost way too much to find the evidence, and it's not guaranteed, which would mean the cops wouldn't take that risk, even if it's most likely the case. Which is why I believe that the cops should have done more. They should have taken him as guilty until they proved him innocent.
Okay, you see, the other thing is also normally if a child runs away, there's a reason for it. He is sad, or he's upset, or he's angry, or something else is very wrong in his life. Yet if you look at that specific day, his mother took him out. They went shopping, they went bowling, they went to dinner at a restaurant. He was seen leaving the restaurant with his mother, on camera. And he looked happy. So I cannot imagine that something so big, so bad would happen in such a short period of time to cause him to want to run away.
I'll explain it to you. It's a cover-up. It's her way of making it look like a little happy family so she can do whatever she wants. Whether it's just aggravated or all fake, because she may have done all that stuff, which may have made him happy, but have you really looked at her reactions? Maybe she was just doing that to cover up what she was going to do, which was most likely to maybe even it was PTSD that killed him. For her PTSD from the military and all, because you've told me that she was in the military, right?
Yeah.
Might have been PTSD from that, and she didn't want to be candidate for murder.
Yeah, but I mean, looking from your point of view, as someone nearly his age, if you had a day like that with your mother, regardless of what's happened before, after, or whatever, you would still have had that sort of happy-go-lucky mindset of the day you just had. And even if you had a fight with her, I don't think that would be big enough to make you want to run away permanently.
Yes, that is why I believe that might be one of the reasons which might prove they did not run away from the house. Because he wouldn't want to run away then unless he somehow forgot everything that happened that day, which would be very unlikely, very, very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know, you're closer to his age, but in my opinion, if you want to run away from home permanently, it's something that builds up over a long period of time.
A grudge.
A grudge, an anger that builds up, not just a fight with your mom because you didn't go to bed when she told you to.
Yeah. And if he's someone who likes to have a routine, as you've said, then he would definitely want to go to sleep if that is his normal sleep time. Now, this is where I get angry
Yeah, no,
at
apparently he does have problems sleeping. He apparently is always rather active at night, and apparently he has been given sleeping aids because he does have a problem sleeping.
in that case, did she give him sleeping aids that night?
Well, we wouldn't know, would we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hides everything very well because their times don't catch up very well. Her explanations don't catch up very well, and she seems to be refusing to give a lot of detail about routines and all that.
Okay. All right. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to give you some time to think about this, guys. I will call you when I'm listening to other creators talk about the case so we can form a better picture of the case. And then I think you and I will revisit this whole case again, say in a week's time.
Shops.
Okay. All right. Thank you for visiting. We will talk about this again soon. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for listening, everybody. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think. Should I bring on more guests in the future? I would love to hear your opinion. Okay, then. Take care. Bye.